When it comes to the process of writing picture books, when does the real wow, the aha, everything come together moment actually happen? It happens in the edit. That's right. After that first messy draft is done, we can begin to polish our picture book. Here in today's lesson, in the Writing Picture Books class, we're going to look at how to revise and edit your messy first draft. I want to encourage you to start at the beginning of this playlist and go in order step by step, learning each lesson and beginning to apply it to your work. I really believe in doing, not just listening or watching. So that's why I've designed an extra resource, a downloadable, printable workbook called Picture Book Writing Exercises. This workbook is an affordable printable download that you can find at the links below. You can print it out and have it ready for the class. Every single exercise in the book corresponds to the free video here that you'll find on YouTube. Let's get on with the lesson. Welcome back. We are progressing along and we're in the lesson on revising and editing your drafts. This is exciting. Hopefully you've done the brain dump and done your first draft. Now it's time to start refining. So revising and editing are crucial steps in refining your story and preparing it for publication. Think of revising as polishing, starting to add the details, and this is when you begin to pay attention to the nuances of that initial sketch and help the picture complete. Revising is when we are rewriting and helping the story take other forms and shapes, and we're playing around with it a little. We might try this word or that word or this phrase here or move a paragraph, and we are revising the story and shaping it. As the story takes multiple revisions, you will then begin to lightly edit. As an author, you'll lightly edit yourself to get it to the point that a professional editor could take over. And it may be to your discretion on whether or not you involve a professional editor into the process, depending on your personal goals for your story and its future publication. Now I want to give to you some really practical ways to work through revising your manuscript. You're going to first just give it a read through. You're going to start by reading that initial brain dump from beginning to end without making changes, and you're going to get an overall sense of the story and its flow and take notes on what's working well and what needs improvement. Then you're going to evaluate and structure or restructure. So keeping in mind that your story follows that clear beginning, middle, and end, you're going to check the conflict, make sure it's compelling. You're going to check the resolution. Is it satisfying? And if the structure feels off, you're going to consider rearranging sections, adding, deleting scenes, and improving the overall flow. So number one is reread the brain dump. Number two is rearrange the structure if needed. Then you're going to enhance the character development. Pay closer attention to the character. Make sure your characters are well developed, that their actions and dialogue are consistent with their personalities. If you need to, add some detail. If you need to, take away some detail, but make sure that overall your characters' motivations and growth are showing through the whole story. Improve descriptions. Now you're going to take a look at enhancing your setting descriptions, making them more vivid or immersive. Use some sensory details to paint a clearer picture. But remember, the illustrations are going to show. So don't tell what you can show. What you can do is tell what you need to, and then on a side note or a side sticky note, make a list of what your illustrations need to show. Now, as we're revising, it's time to tighten the plot. What do I mean by that? Tightening the plot means eliminating unnecessary scenes, making sure you're not going down rabbit holes or subplots that don't contribute to the main story. Focus on keeping your plot concise and engaging to the young readers. When I mentor picture book creators and they're sharing with me some of their first manuscripts, one of the things that I noticed is that they have multiple plots within one simple story. It's like they can't discern or decide what plot they want to use, so they throw a bunch in the mix. And I advise to choose one plot per children's book, one main plot, and then save the rest for other books that you can develop into other stories. Choose your main plot and make sure there's not too many what I call rabbit holes or subplots going on. Check your pacing. Ensure that the story moves at a good pace, keeping the reader's interest throughout, dedicating a quarter of the book to the beginning, a half of the book to the middle, and a quarter of the book to the end. And in terms of pacing the speed and progress of your story, think of those pages being laid out. If it's a 32-page book, think of those pages taking up that portion of the pacing. Hey there, just a quick intermission from today's lesson. Are you loving the lesson so far? If so, give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget that I have an extra companion to this class called Picture Book Writing Exercises. Every activity inside of this affordable, downloadable printable corresponds to a lesson here on this playlist to get you from just watching to doing. This is how we're going to really transform our skills together. So find that link below. Let's get on with the lesson. Now we're finally going to take a look at word count management, which is critical, but it's not an aspect that I like to introduce too soon because I find it may cramp your creativity. Check your word count. If your word count is really high, begin to eliminate words, keeping what's most important and age appropriate for your target audience. Picture books typically range from 500 to 1,000 words, and though this can vary depending on the age group and complexity of the story, you're going to just want to make sure that you're looking for areas you can tighten up your writing. You're going to eliminate redundant phrases, you're going to trim dialogue, you're going to simplify descriptions. If your word count's too low, you can consider where to expand and add dialogue. And if the word count is too high, you're going to trim. By following these steps and tips, you're going to revise your drafts multiple times. In my own personal process, I never delete a previous draft. What I do is name drafts using the initial D for draft. A capital D1 means draft 1. And then I will copy that document in my Google Drive and label it D2 and so forth. It will always have the placeholder title in the name. So for example, when I wrote and illustrated the A Busy Day in ABC Woods that you see behind me here, I have in my Google Drive multiple drafts where it will say ABCW, and that's what it stood for as a placeholder, ABC Woods, D1. That's my draft 1. ABCW, D2. I would just copy that document, rename it, and then revise that draft, saving the older drafts. Once you have revised your story into something that you feel like is solid and acceptable, you're going to want to start doing some light author editing. It's where you're going to edit your manuscript looking at grammar and punctuation, word choice and clarity, consistency, making sure names, places, and other details remain consistent. You're going to look at dialogue tags, making sure dialogue tags are clear and correctly formatted. You're going to look at illustration notes to review, like keeping an account, making sure that there's guidance for the illustrator, whether you are the illustrator or you're having someone else illustrate your book. You're going to want to have a lot of notes and directions for the illustrator. You're going to want to do a final read through to catch any remaining errors or inconsistencies, and this can include perhaps a beta reader, a trusted individual who has an eye for grammar and punctuation, who may just do an initial scan. They may not be a professional editor, but they'll help you to catch some of the glaring edits. Now, there's always a big question in picture book creation is when do I include an editor in the process of my picture book? Including an editor in your picture book writing process is important, but the timing and type of editor that you choose can make a big difference. So there's a couple of different kinds of editors. There's a content creative editor, and then there's also the grammar copy editor. A content or creative editor focuses on the big picture elements of your story, and they help you with story structure, character development, pacing, and themes of the messages. This would be an editor that you would include if you came to a creative block in your story at any point during your revisions. If you came to a creative block where you're really stuck and you think, if I just had another creative mind step in from an editing perspective to share with me some content advice, I would be able to move this story on. Now, then there's the grammar copy editor. The grammar and copy editor looks at grammar and punctuation, sentence structure, consistency, and word choice. A grammar and copy editor should be brought in after you've completed your final draft. So I do light editing myself up until the point of final draft. And here's a little insider information. Sometimes I even go as far as ordering my author copy off of Kindle Direct Publishing so that I can hold a tangible book in my hands while I do a final edit, or I can hand that tangible book to someone to edit on paper. And so this author copy does not mean that my book is published to the public. It's just a way to get the book into your hands prior to publication, is to order an author copy. And so sometimes I'll do the final grammar copy editing on paper with the actual sample of the book. And so that's just a little tip for you. It works well for me because I'm a tangible person who likes to hold the fruit of my labors. And this grammar and copy editor will either get a digital copy or hard copy of your final draft, and they'll be able to look over this manuscript and really polish it up. I hope that you have done your first draft brain dump, and now you can begin to revise and refine. And if you are in need of content editing or any kind of consultation from an editor, that you would seek out the right help, that you would not feel stuck or alone in your book creation process. Thank you so much for learning with me today here in Writing Picture Books. If you enjoyed this lesson, please give it the thumbs up here on YouTube, share it with a friend, spread the word that there is this kind of educational material for those who dream of writing picture books. Find the links below for the printable companion, the exercises that get you doing, not just watching and listening, but doing is where the real transformation happens. And I can't wait for you to join with me in these exercises and really begin to practice your picture book writing skills. If you're looking for encouragement, accountability, or a space to just grow your skills as a picture book creator, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell here on the Picture Book Creators channel, because every week I create a video to help support your journey. And YouTube has a feature called Community that I'll be using to inspire you. Make sure to check out all my other helpful videos and do the lessons on this playlist in sequential order so that you can get the most out of them. Until next time, picture book creators, happy writing.